Sabotaging in the face of spirituality is just an awareness that there is a part of us that isn't working exactly the way that we want it to be. It's not an opportunity for self bashing, blaming others, creating problems, or stalling, but it can do all of those things unless we know how to deal with them. They don't have to be bad, they don't have to be ugly, and they don't have to make us give up on our dreams. They are just there as a way to teach us about ourselves so that we can move through them and step into where we want to be with ease. Sabotages teach us and they help us to love ourselves more. You're listening to the Intuitive Mastery Podcast. Hi, I'm Kate Connolly, and with over 15 years of intuitive healing and teaching experience, I'm here to help you celebrate intuition and value authenticity to create a world where you have the freedom to live your best life. This podcast is here to teach you how to apply the principles of spirituality, healing, and mindset to have true and lasting joy, all from the inside out. This is the Intuitive Mastery Podcast. Welcome to today's episode on sabotaging. One of the reasons I wanted to share this with you today is because it's such an important part of learning how to be intuitive in our lives and learning how to really start creating our lives by design. So we have kind of two different ways to look at how we function in the world. We can either be in this place of the world controls me, I don't have any say, I just do the best with the circumstances that I've got, but I don't actually have any, influence on the outcome. Or we can go, actually, the world is just a reflection of what I think, feel, and believe. So when I can heal the parts of myself that are not aligned with where I'm going and not aligned with my ideal future self, then I can create and start to create what it is that I actually want to call in and start developing this heaven on earth, this life of my dreams, this life by design, however you want to call it. And if we give ourselves that empowerment of actually we can change things, we can make our life how we want it to be, and we sit with that conviction of knowing it's actually such a powerfully empowering place for anyone who chooses to go from a place of helplessness to empowerment. And one of the things that can get in our way is this feeling of sabotage. And one of the ways, especially when we've started to become conscious of our thoughts and our feelings and how we influence our outcome and influence our lives, one of the main things that tends to happen is this concept called sabotage or conscious incompetence, where we have this awareness, and we can definitely sabotage unconsciously, which is, where the majority of sabotages do happen. But a sabotage is basically any kind of belief or behavior that isn't actually what we would like to have. It's creating a reality that isn't what we would actually desire, could we choose. And most of us do this on some level. A lot of it is unconscious. But when we start becoming conscious of this, we can create our own reality and we become aware that, oh my goodness, there are so many parts of my life that don't work. How have I gotten to this place? It becomes potentially really overwhelming to move through it. And how do I actually create what I want? I remember that takes me back to about, I'm going to say 12, 13 years ago. And a friend of mine was doing these vision boards about where you want to be and how you want to kind of spend your life. And I remember my vision board was just so far removed from everything that I was currently living at the time. And where I wanted to be in my goals were just, many, many, many steps away from that current reality. And she was talking about, okay, well, so we can create this vision board and where we want to be, and then we can actually do some kinesiology around how to clear the sabotages or the blocks around it. And I just remember she and I kind of both looked at the board. We both realized how far away from where I wanted to be. And I think she just found it too overwhelming and didn't really want to do it because it would have taken so many sessions to work through all of the blocks and the sabotages to get me where I wanted to be, that we just kind of, at that time just put it aside and just thought, oh, well, let's just work on one or two things and move forward. But I think this is a really common reality where, I would like my health to be better. Like my relationships to be better. I'd like my work to be better. I'd like this to be better. And in my opinion, when I've worked with people over the years, basically, if we are not already well on the way to where we want to be or on the path and pretty much there, then we probably have a sabotage somewhere. Because remember, our life is a reflection of what we think and what we feel and what we believe. So this is why we can't necessarily create massive leaps in our income, and why we can't necessarily go from being habitually single to being in a committed relationship overnight. It tends to happen in stages. It doesn't always, but it tends to. And that's because when we're changing our belief systems, sometimes they can go in leaps and bounds, and that's an amazing, beautiful experience. You can 100% have that. I'm not saying that it's not possible. It really, really is possible. We can have, like I said, a lifetime of being single and then suddenly find the person of your dreams, and then that's it. You're in, and that feels solid, and you're completely committed and you stay there. And what a wonderful experience. And for a lot of people, that's just simply not possible. The same thing would happen with, like I said, big leaps in income, big leaps in health status. All of those things usually require a lot of reprogramming of beliefs and reprogramming of behaviors in order to make those changes. So rather than making an entirely massive leap, we're talking about making baby steps on the way to where we want to be. So sabotages are pretty much always coming from an unconscious place. Sometimes we consciously sabotage, as in, I know that I shouldn't eat that biscuit and I know I'm not going to enjoy my body afterwards, but screw it, I'm going to do it anyway. That's one way of, consciously sabotaging. But most of the time, especially if we're conscious and we're aware that, our life is a reflection of our behaviors and beliefs, it's going to be something more along the lines of, oh, I can't eat that biscuit. I can't eat that biscuit. I can't eat that biscuit. Oh my goodness, I just ate that biscuit. What did I just do? And that place of conscious incompetence is a very dangerous place to be, because we can often get caught up in the self-blame and the self-sabotage from a thoughts perspective. We can get really angry at ourselves. We can start blaming ourselves. We can start going into the spiral of what is wrong with me. And that's a really common and very dangerous place to be, because when we start going to that really strong self-judgment and self-hate sometimes, we really block an entire element of our healing. So we can choose to kind of dive into what isn't working and kind of get into that state of, oh my goodness, what's wrong with me? Or we can decide to turn it around and go, hey, up until now, I've done my best. And right now, this is a behavior that I don't like. So how about I just choose to find the part of me that's creating that and give it some unconditional acceptance, forgiveness, and love, so it can integrate and transmute into the person that I want to be. And when we change and shift that belief system and transmute it into a way of being, which is where we'd prefer, that's a very powerful experience to go through. And then all of a sudden you can go, ooh, I don't want to eat that biscuit. I don't want to eat that biscuit. Oh, wow, that's cool. I never ate that biscuit. And you've changed, you've shifted something. And often it requires a behavioral component as well, but not always. So sometimes if we can shift a belief system through recognizing where it comes from and giving us those energies, those oneness, forgiveness, and love energies, and then all of a sudden that part of us that really wanted that biscuit can integrate, then all of a sudden we can look at a plate of biscuits and just not want them. But sometimes we can have that consciousness of, oh, I don't really want that biscuit, but I'm so used to having that biscuit, maybe I'll have it anyway. And so that's when I encourage you from a behavioral perspective to go, hey, look, you've just released that as a belief system. How about we choose a different habit? How about we have a piece of fruit instead and see if that fills the hole? And often it will, because you don't have that same compulsion to eat the biscuit. So sometimes there's going to be a behavioral component to healing sabotages. But one of the things that I want to just kind of highlight in terms of the idea of sabotaging is that it usually comes from a place that is not necessarily of this time and place. So it can be difficult to understand where they come from. It's not always necessary to completely understand where they come from, but just to give you an awareness that there's such a diffuse and diverse range of places that we can create or get our sabotages from. So don't forget that we are souls that embody into vessels for a lifetime. And then once that lifetime is over, our soul then leaves that vessel and then enters another vessel. So everyone has a very different belief system, but for me, I very strongly believe and have experienced reincarnation. And a lot of people have this, which is a whole other podcast topic. But for when you do have that reincarnation, remember then we've got multiple different lifetimes that we're dealing with. Past lives, parallel lives, interdimensional lives. We've also got intergalactic lives that can impact our sabotaging in this plane. And so if we have this awareness that we are multidimensional, we have many, 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 many aspects of self. It's not just this one vessel that we're experiencing in physical form right now. When we know that there's so many of them, we may need to then call in all of those aspects of self that have that sabotage, whatever it might be, the I just can't help myself, I'm going to eat what's not good for me, sabotage, whatever it might be. But we might have multiple different elements of our multidimensional self that have that sabotage existing in them at this moment. So we can call all of those elements in and then heal all of them at once so that we can have a really big shift and clearing. And typically, I find when we can do that, we're going to have a much broader, much more thorough and much more complete healing so that we really do not want that biscuit when it's sitting on the plate, if that is your sabotage or whatever it might be for you, right? So everyone's really different with this, and I just want to be really clear that it's not your fault. This is not something that you have called in deliberately. If you were to sit in with your emotions around something, yes, you may have a level of responsibility and guilt and worry, or you may be trying to blame other people. Well, my mother was never good with biscuits. She was never, she was never disciplined in and of herself. So why should I be? There's going to be an element sometimes of external blame. But just remembering that anytime we externally blame someone, we're not actually going to heal because we have a habit. It's our habit. We may have picked it up from somewhere, but we also chose to pick it up and we chose to stay with it. Even if it was an unconscious choosing, we still chose it. So stepping out of the self-bashing, but also stepping out of the bashing of others is really essential to this step of trying to heal it and move forward. So getting out of judgment of ourselves and others, taking responsibility, but the taking of responsibility is also really empowering because it's like, well, if I'm responsible, I can also change it. If I know up until now that, maybe 15 generations of women used to just eat biscuits even if it was really bad for them, and now I'm choosing to change it, I have the mandate and the power to do that because I'm now conscious and I'm choosing to create my own reality because I can. That's a really powerful place to be, taking responsibility from, yes, I picked it up along that family line, right? And it's an ancestral pattern that I've just picked up. And I'm choosing to end this ancestral pattern because it doesn't serve me and it won't serve, children if I have any. And so I'm going to choose to completely integrate and heal it now so that I never have to, and my ancestors never have to deal with this again. That's a really powerful place to be. So if you do step into that place of over responsibility, it's just from a place of curiosity and wow, cool, now I can do something different and I'm choosing to do it differently. So the conscious incompetence can be quite dangerous because we can end up in that place of complete self-bashing, and then that just puts us in a place of stasis, right? It just keeps us there. We don't move from that place. That self-bashing or blaming of others just keeps us completely frozen in our lives and we don't actually move forward. So when we finally move through that and we get to give ourselves permission to move forward from it, then we completely accept ourselves the way that we are. We forgive ourselves and others for however that contribution exists. And then we choose to love unconditionally the part of ourselves that have been in that place. And those 3 laws of healing completely integrate and heal that sabotage so that we can release that as a behavior that we don't like anymore. And then we get closer and closer and closer to that ideal self. So when we're looking at, if you have a vision board, or if you have, a reality that you want to call in, whether it be through your health or through business or through anything else, you will actually get an opportunity to hit your sabotages because, like I said, if you're not already well on your way or already there, then there will be some, and you'll always get some in that manifesting journey. Just remember, it doesn't mean it's the wrong path for you, and it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It just means that, wow, cool, I just need to heal this in order to keep going, and use that as a beautiful recognition tool to give yourself some more love and more recognition, more acceptance, more forgiveness, so that that part of you can integrate and you can keep going on your journey. I hope that was really helpful. If you guys want to join in my Intuitive Mastery School, I have the link down below. It's just $10 US a week. It's super, super affordable. We have classes every single week on all things spirituality, including how to call in your guides, dealing with auras, dealing with clearing chakras, dealing with sabotages, dealing with manifesting, dealing with intuition. We've got hundreds of classes, and we also have live channeled meditations every week to reinforce the lessons and to help you on your spiritual journey, help you to feel safe and supported on every level of your journey. If you would like to join us, all my links are below. I've also got my book, The Intuitive Heart Revolution, which has so many of my learnings in there to help you on your journey. And thank you so much for listening. I will see you next time.